In this video I want to share with you all of the images that I have been drawing outside of my sketchbook since the beginning of the new year. So all of these sketches and drawings have got a purpose, and the purpose is they will be put into my 2023 calendar. All of these drawings are actually based on my sketches that I've been doing over the last year or so, and it just gives me an opportunity to draw outside my sketchbook and just concentrate on an area which I really want to look at and observe for a bit longer. Most of my drawings in my sketchbook take between probably 15 and at most 45 minutes, whereas these drawings have taken a minimum of 2 to 3 hours, and then a maximum probably of a day or even 2 days if I've need to come back to it or I haven't managed to do it in one day. So these drawings are a lot more involved, they take a lot more time, but at the same time trying to have some kind of looseness in them in the way that I apply the crayon and the pens and the pencils. I still want to have a little bit of life to them. I will share some close-ups of them so that you can see the mark making, and yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy taking a closer look at all of these drawings. The first one is of Church Cove, and you may have already seen this picture as I filmed a video on me creating it. When I was on an evening walk, the light was just really like golden light, and so I think that really influenced then the colour choices that I was making. I really enjoyed actually putting a lot of these details in, so the details of the brickwork, and then also alongside some textures with the crayons and the pencils. This drawing is of the old lifeboat house at Polpeor. This is right at the end of the Lizard Peninsula. I've visited this lifeboat house quite a number of times, and I've drawn it in different viewpoints. When I decided to draw this view, I actually was walking away from it and just looked back. So you've got the little shops which are up here, and then you have the steep runway going down, and then the old lifeboat house here. Obviously it's not used anymore now, and normally in the winter this is very stormy. On this day it was very calm, and I wanted to get that kind of presence through the drawing. You can see the shadow of the rock here reflecting in the water. This drawing is of St Anthony's Church, and it is just set on a creek called Gillan Creek over towards the Helford area. It's a very cosy Cornish view. You can see lots of older buildings here. Maybe these used to be net lofts or places where boats and paraphernalia was stored. Lots of boats along the shoreline here. The green seaweed was just this luminous green, and it just was lovely to see that contrast between that and then the more muted sandy colours of the beach. This drawing actually makes me feel like, you know, the beginning of a storybook or a scene that you would see in a storybook. You can imagine the lives of those around it and what they would be doing. This drawing actually is very close to the last place. You can tell that because that green seaweed is here again. So this is just a little bit further along the shoreline, So this is still Gillan Creek here, but it's looking out towards the Halford River. And I just love the moodiness of this one. It's very calm again, but quite moody as well. You've got little boats dotted along the horizon here, and then a little cottage here. Which, again, it makes me think, who lives in that little cottage there? Probably holiday makers, but you know, you can imagine what was the history of this. Was it a place where the custom people would have been, say, if they saw people coming into this creek? Another thing I like about this drawing are the pops of pink. With the green, they really work quite well together. This is of Poltesco, and actually Carleon Cove at Poltesco. A very historical viewpoint again. You've got some really old buildings here. This was the Serpentine factory, and all along up here is the ruins of that factory. And then you've got another building here which kind of dates, I think, earlier than the factory. This is around 1800s, and then this is 1700s. And this would have been, I think there would have been a winch inside here which then would help pull the boats up. So this whole area was a thriving fishing cove. So there used to be a lot of mackerel fishing in the area. And this is actually not far from Godrevy Cove, which would have been a bit even busier than this cove. But now it is silent. If you ever go down there, it's hardly ever busy, and you just have these old ruins. And then lots and lots of foliage and gorse, flowers, kind of a hidden place. It's amazing how, again, it used to be busy, it used to be thriving, but nature has kind of claimed back a lot of that. If you watch my vlogs, you may be very familiar with this scene. This is of Godrevy Cove. Now there is another Godrevy in Cornwall, and that's on the north coast, but this is Godrevy Cove of the Lizard Peninsula. It is actually unmarked, I think, on the map, so it's very hard to find. But yeah, I found this beach one day on my walks, and again there was no one around when I went down to it, and I just again loved the beauty of it, the colours that I saw in the sand. The sand actually was kind of silvery, but on this day just hints of pink coming through, and then you had contrasts with the rocks, quite dark rocks. Just around the corner this way there's quarries, finding lots of different greens and layering, putting marks on. And then this little hut here just intrigued me. I think it might have been a lookout hut, maybe from the MOD, when the MOD was stationed there. This drawing is of Polurrian Cove. This is a very well-known cove to me because it's about 10 minutes walk from where I am. This was the view that I saw as I was going on one of my walks, and I just thought that would be such a beautiful view to sketch. I have actually sketched this view from this position looking towards the cliffs, but what I really liked was the view looking down towards the cove, and then capturing this tiny little hut here. It's kind of just an abandoned hut at the moment, but there was something characterful about having it in, so I wanted to capture it in there. The colours in this drawing are very bright, they're very springy. So you've got really quite luminous greens and The colour of the sea is very bright. So here we have Gillan Creek again, but this time it is a bit further up the creek, and you can see that the water is out, so it's a tidal creek. I think it was interesting for me to try and draw a bit more of this mud bank here, and you've got loads of different browns and pinks in this mud here, and then you've got stones and all sorts. And I just liked the boats, the way they were just kind of parked up. Another feature that I like actually are these trees here, just standing very, very tall. And again, that's unusual for the Lizard Peninsula to have very tall trees. Most of them are very stunted because of the high winds. But this area, it shows you that it's a little bit more sheltered because these pines have been able to grow so tall. This is one of the stacks that feature in the cove. You've got Mullion Island, which is just behind. That's not inhabited by anyone other than seagulls. And then you have a couple more stacks around here and the headland there. I came to this, I think, very early in the morning, and I noticed a little boat was moored up in the cove area. The colours of this were just glowing, and I knew I wanted to capture it. And it was kind of one of those views that you look at and then suddenly all sorts of colours start coming out and showing themselves. So that's kind of why I wanted to capture and make this my feature, because I just wanted to capture all the colours that I was seeing in the rock. You've got golds, you've got apricots, browns, greens, blues, mauves, so many colours that were coming into view. And this is the view at Winwalloe. This is St Winwalloe, and is actually referred to as Church of the Storms. As you can imagine, it has probably experienced a lot of storms over its lifetime. It's right near the sea, and it does get very, very windy and stormy down by the cove, Church Cove. It has a little bit of protection from a headland here, and then also it's got some bushes, tamarind bushes there. But it is a unique location with a church being so close to the water. You've also got the Polurrian nursing home on the horizon there. It used to be a hotel, but like lots of buildings, it's repurposed. So it's now a nursing home, probably a nursing home with the best views. I also wanted to have a little bit more of a muted colour palette for this, although you can still see I'm using the apricots here. You can see it's a little bit more moody, especially with the greens that I've been using, and then also the clouds here. This is another drawing actually that could, I think, be in a picture book, and again kind of tells a scene or tells a story. This drawing is of Roskorwell Farm and the Cornish lavender fields that they have at the farm. If you are a subscriber of my channel, you probably have seen me filming the lavender fields, because I was running workshops there in June and July. And I thought it'd be great to include this into this calendar. For one thing, I hadn't realised there were lavender fields on the Lizard Peninsula. I think I must have noticed a post or something on social media that said about lavender fields. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be great to draw in the lavender fields? And then I think around Christmas time, I think the owner of the lavender fields got in touch and asked if I would consider doing some workshops in the following year. So yeah, I visited and we then made plans. So it's actually really lovely to now have this picture in the calendar and actually have a drawing of the lavender fields. I hope this kind of gives you a sense of movement and also kind of takes your eye up into the picture and then up to the little cottage. And I think this is the final one, number 12. This is of the view looking towards Kennack Sands. I went out sketching with my friend Pippa and we actually drew this view in, well, I drew the view in my large Moleskine, and I just loved the drama. It just felt very dramatic because you had the sea kind of below you, and then you could see obviously the land in front of you. But I just loved it, the view, the sea, the colours, and then the rocks that were coming, and then there was a few little kind of birds down here along the rock line, the shoreline, with a little tiny house here and a little sign. I think my favourite part of this was doing the sea and just trying to get some movement in the sea with darker areas, lighter areas, turquoises, dark blues, navy blues. It kind of takes me back to that moment that I was sketching it. And so there we go. That is all of the sketches, drawings that will appear in my 2023 sketch calendar. I have actually got a sample now of the calendar. There are a few things I want to change in it, which is why it's always good, I think, to get a sample, because you can then have a first look at how things are looking. So there are a few things that I want to change, but the calendar now is available. It's on pre-order, and the hope is that I will start receiving orders, and then at the end of September I will put in the main print order and then start shipping probably from mid-October. So if you are interested in my 2023 sketch calendar, I'm now officially saying it's ready to purchase. You can find all the links in the description below, and I look forward to sending them out to you. So I'd love to hear what you think, and also which drawing or sketch is your favourite one. It's always interesting to hear your thoughts, and I look forward to sending them out to you if this is something that you'd like to buy. Thanks so much guys for your support, and I will speak to you again really soon.